Hello and welcome to this week's Homegrown. I'm Kirsten Lipkins, the Education Director for the Springfield Symphony Orchestra, and I am back again with two more interviews with our musicians from the Symphony. I had the great pleasure of talking with Nancy Dimock, who plays the oboe. She's our principal oboist, and Steve Perry, who plays the tuba. You are going to learn some wonderful new secrets about these two instruments that you may never have known, and also a little bit about them. I hope you enjoy, and until next time, have a great week. I have today with me a very special guest, Nancy Dimock, and I will let you introduce the instrument you play, how long you've been with the Symphony. Take it away.
I'm Nancy. I play the oboe, and one of the reasons that this is such a fun interview is so does Kirsten, and we've played together so many times, and it's so much fun. But I play the oboe, and I've been with the Symphony, I think, for 8 years. I always laugh about that because Tom Bergeron and I joined the same year, and neither one of us can ever remember which year that was. So whenever the two of us are around each other, we just ask each other, and he's not here, so I think it's 8 years. But it's great. And one of the really nice things about joining Springfield is that I used to play in Albany Symphony with Karen Hosmer, who plays also in the section in Springfield. And so we just swapped roles. So I played second to her in Albany, and then I came out here, and now we're just exactly opposite. And it's really funny. And the other thing that's weird about that is that Grace Shryock, who plays English horn, is now the second oboe player in Albany also. So basically we just populated both of those orchestras.
You are the oboe section of New England.
We are.
Pretty much the East Coast. But that's amazing to have that because it makes you such a strong section. You know each other so well.
We do.
I thought it would be really fun to talk about the role of the principal oboist in an orchestra. And a lot of times there's this little part before the music even starts that, our audience doesn't really know about. It's the tuning. So
yes.
Explain that a little bit.
Well, I always think it's funny because whenever you read about orchestras or you go, everyone says, oh, the concertmaster comes out and tunes the orchestra. And what the concertmaster does is stand up and, ask the oboe player to tune. But it's every oboe player's nightmare, isn't it? A little bit?
So, a little bit.
Because what you have to do is you have to give 2 or 3, depending on where you are, you have to give a few concert A's at exactly the same pitch. We spend a lot of time working with tuners so that every time we give the A, it can be exactly the same. Because not only is it embarrassing if you don't do that, but people get upset. And the whole point of it is to make everybody play in the same pitch, right? Everybody needs to be playing in the same place. And so if we're bad at it, then it doesn't help anybody. But also, oboe players have to make their own reeds. I think most people know that, right? That we spend a lot of time at our desks making these things so that we can play. And we also don't have a whole lot of pitch flexibility on the oboe. So we make reeds to play at a certain pitch.
Well, thank you. I think you opened up a whole new world with tuning. When people go to the concert now, they should really pay attention to that when we have our next concert, which I can't wait.
It'd be great to have another concert soon.
And I know too, because the principal oboist sits right smack in the middle of the orchestra, you witness everything. So you must have some fun stories or funny mishaps or silly anecdotes you might want to share.
Oh, it's funny because when I think about funny stories, they mostly are just the disasters that happen with the oboe.
Well, share some disasters. I have plenty too.
Part of being an oboe player, I think, is you get used to the disasters. Like we are constantly, because we have these reeds that are made of essentially grass, they're basically bamboo. They don't last very long. And so we're constantly having issues where your reed just stops working or it cracks or something like that happens when they turn on some sort of air conditioning system. Everything goes haywire. Mm-hmm. But I've definitely been in situations where instruments have fallen apart in the middle of concerts. That happened, actually, I believe I was playing with Karen Hosmer, and her oboe, one of the springs popped, and you may notice when you go to concerts, or everybody out there may notice that in the wind section, we often have a lot of paraphernalia around us. And I'm sure it may look a little messy back there, but it's actually totally necessary. So I was thinking about this. So for every concert, I bring, like, I always have knives with me because we need to fix our reeds sometimes. But oh no, because of COVID, I don't have my little thing here. I have this thing called a spring hook, which is basically, it looks like a crochet hook. And
Yes,
that
love
thing,
a hook.
yeah, right? That it fixes a problem. So you have to whip it out and fix it.
And we have cigarette paper,
Oh,
right?
right, because we're always getting water in our keys. And it's not spit. Everyone thinks it's spit, but it's just from the temperature change, right? Because also the other thing that's interesting about the oboe is the top of the oboe, like I actually have my oboe here. The top up here is only that big. Wait, can you see that?
Yeah, it's small.
So,
it's like a straw.
Exactly. So when you're blowing 100 basically degree air into it and the instrument is 60 degrees, you're going to get condensation.
Yep, and that first little hole in the oboe, it's so essential because it takes us up to the high notes, and that's always the little hole that gets the condensation in it, and you go to play a high note, and either you hear this,
exactly,
you hear not the high note, and it's so terrifying.
And you can do nothing about it until you blow it out, or
Yep, till the rest, and you hope for a long rest so you can do it.
You. Yes.
So Nancy, I know Springfield Symphony is so lucky to have you as their principal oboist, but I also know you play a lot of other places, and I would love for you to share all of the other venues and groups.
Oh, no. I do. I play in a lot of different places. Though I really, again, now don't play anywhere. I also play with Boston Lyric Opera and Glimmerglass Opera in the summers. So I feel like I spend a lot of my year playing opera, which is great because there's something really sort of magical about the way the orchestra and the singers react to each other, and I like playing opera.
Lots of good oboe parts in operas.
Oboe parts, and lots of low, soft, hard oboe parts too.
Oh. And where else? Because you've just started your list. I know you have a lot more.
Oh, I play in the Vermont Symphony, and I play with Kevin also in the Pro Arte Chamber Orchestra here in Boston. And I do a lot of chamber music, and I play just in some other groups around town. There's a group in just out of Boston called the Indian Hill Symphony that I play with, and I don't know, is that it? Might be it.
That's a lot. So almost every weekend in normal times, you're doing a concert. You're
playing somewhere most weekends, yes.
And you drive a lot.
I drive a lot. Yes.
Nancy, thank you so much for talking with us and letting us peek into your world.
Thank you so much. It's so great to talk to you always. So great. I wish I could play with you though.
Oh, me too. Both talk and play. Take care.
Thank you.
I am now here with the amazing Steve Perry. And I hope everyone knows where he sits in the orchestra, but I will let you describe what instrument you play and where you sit. Go for it.
Well, I'm off in the right-hand corner there, stuck in the corner. That's where they put the tuba. On my right-hand side, I got the bass trombone, then the second trombone, the first trombone. So I have to listen really closely to those guys. On my left, though, I get the double basses for most of the concerts. Sometimes they go to the other side of the stage, but I like having them there as much as they don't like having me there because I'm pointing at them. But in any case, I like that bass sound, especially for Brahms. I sort of want to melt into the string bass. I actually think I'm a string bass player when I play Brahms. So don't tell any brass players that though. But I've been with the orchestra since 1981.
So you sitting in that back row, I know you all have a lot of fun back there. You also see everything that's going on. So do tell us some fun secret stories that would surprise and interest our audience members.
Woo! Well, you have to understand, the tuba doesn't play all that much, unless you're playing John Williams and you're playing a lot.
Yeah.
And of course, we love playing John Williams. So I get to listen, I get to watch. I watch those woodwind players honking and putting it together. Maybe even the French horns over there that are behind the woodwinds, and I can't really see through the strings all the way to the end. But I'm watching. I'm also watching the conductor. You can tell how the conductor, he'll hear some things, and I love to watch cues. And I mean, Kevin Rhodes is he's really a ballet dancer on that podium, and he doesn't miss a cue. We all know there are some conductors out there who don't like cueing. So, I mean, it doesn't make our jobs really easier. We need those cues occasionally. Tuba players, we get to listen to hear the gorgeous sounds that are happening around us. I must say though, there's a great story. And we were playing at the Berkshire Choral Festival. This goes back years ago. And one of the conductors that was there, and he will go nameless, we were playing Verdi's Requiem. And it was like, trombones, tuba, you're playing too loud. And so, here we go again. So next time we really softened it up. It says fortissimo. We brought it back to maybe mezzo piano. And it's still, trombones, tuba, you're playing too loud. And we looked at each other and we all said, okay. So after that, during that passage, I mean, we're talking a passage that was probably about 60 measures. And we're talking, it's really big, really big. And we're playing, the trombones are going through the motion, but we weren't playing a thing.
So what happened? What did he say? Did he say, "Oh, that's perfect now," or?
That's it. And we said, fine. Well, it did come out later too. Unfortunately, the timpani on the other side of the hall, he was remarking to, during the break to the conductor about how, it's really hard to play that section. And conductor just said, well, I don't understand why. He says, well, because the low brass wasn't playing at all. So that let the
cat out of the bag.
out of the bag on that one. I had to play Dixieland. I said, yeah, I'll go do it. I love playing Dixieland music. I got there. It was a hot day, 90s. And they said, here you go. I said, what's that? He says, that's a gorilla costume. I said, I gotta put that on. And he goes, yeah, didn't he tell you this is the gorilla band? They're all dressed up in gorilla. I had this mask on, and the whole, and where the mouth is, it was like cut out a little bit. And I mean, I was sweating bullets for like 2.5 hours. It was absolutely brutal.
What made you pick the tuba as your instrument?
Oh, wait a minute. Doesn't everybody want to play the tuba?
I can't say it was my first choice. Neither was the oboe, but.
My parents were music teachers. So we all, and my mother was a pianist, since her early days, and she went to school, and that was her major instrument. And she was a piano teacher while she was staying home with the kids. And so by kindergarten, we were all playing the piano. Piano was my first instrument, and even now the tuba's been at rest a lot, and I've been taking up the piano a lot more because, man, I got harmony, I got bass, and I had 15 years of piano lessons, just about the time I picked up the tuba. But I first played the trumpet. My grandfather was a professional trumpet player in Boston, a very well-known player during his days, during the 30s and the 40s, and I got one of his instruments. So in 4th grade, I started playing the trumpet, and I loved it. I did very well. Then 5th grade happened, and then the curse hit. I got braces.
Oh.
That small mouthpiece against those braces, and back then we had bands that circled the teeth with welded on, little points that the wires went across. And I always I told people it was like kissing a pincushion. It, it hurt. And not only that, it affected your tone. It didn't get the best sound, and I couldn't get as high a notes. And then, I tried putting these little strips of wax over it, and my lips were like standing out. So by the end of 5th grade, I sort of like had it. And I didn't play in 6th grade, but my father said, my father was a band director in the local high school that I grew up in. He said, "Hey, Steve, they got a brand new sousaphone in the middle school." I said, "Sousaphone?" He goes, "Yeah, it's the marching tuba." And he said, that mouthpiece, will go around the braces. My sister at the time was playing euphonium. She was a really good euphonium player. And the last thing I wanted to do was compete with her in that range, because you can play trombone or euphonium and it still goes around, those front teeth. And French horn was definitely out. So I said, "Yeah, I'm going into 7th grade. I want to be in the band." "Sure, Dad, I'll play the sousaphone." He actually brought one home for the summer, and I, played a few notes. And so that was the start of my tuba career. Well, the tuba is the youngest member of the brass family.
Oh, that's interesting.
I mean, of course, you started out with, the trumpets and the post horns, and then the French horn, it was a hunting horn, and the trombone actually was a sagbutt, which is push pull, and it was, a couple composers, Berlioz wrote for an instrument called the ophicleide, which looks like a baritone sax, but with a pipe coming out of it with a mouthpiece. It had pads on it. And then there was Wagner. And Wagner came around and just wanted more sound, and he looked into developing the lower brass instruments. And being in Germany with all those brass makers, he got people to make those larger brass instruments. And so really it was Berlioz and Wagner, and then it took off from there.
Oh my gosh, this was so much fun, Steve. Thank you so much for sharing your world of tuba with us.
Well, it's, we don't get to do that much, so at least in that back row, at least I don't. So this way I can do something a little different. But I must say, thanks for having me. And I've enjoyed playing with this orchestra so much over the course of the years. It's one of my most favorite things to do, and obviously getting to know people like you, who I also miss, and all the other people. So we'll get back to this, but the relationships we've made with everybody has been such an important part of my life, and I know we'll get back to it.
We will. I know we will too. Thank you.
You're welcome.